What's going on, guys? It's Jeff Format, Hatters Reef, and today we're going to be taking a look at how I made a mistake with my Neptune Systems dose. What's going on, guys? It's Jeff Format, Hatters Reef, and today we're going to be taking a look at what I did wrong with my Neptune Systems dose. If this is your first time being here, this is where I talk about everything saltwater tank related. So if you love saltwater tanks like I do, gently press that subscribe button in the face. Now, the idea behind this video is to share with you what I did wrong. So for those of you that are looking to set up a Neptune Systems dose and want to avoid doing things wrong, you can watch this video and learn what not to do. A couple other things that we're going to talk about in today's video. We're going to talk about the winner of the Akamai KPS, which is a very awesome pump, and I've just recently installed it into my Nano Reef tank. I actually love this pump so much that when I did the review for Premium Aquatics, I emailed Jason and told him that I was not going to give it back and he needed to take my money. So let's jump into what I did wrong with my Neptune Systems dose. Back in May of this year, I got the Neptune Systems dose and DDR, and I did a video on how to set that up, and I'm going to be providing a link to that video in the description. So after you're done watching this video and you want to go check that out, it's there for your convenience. So I set the thing up and it runs, as far as I can tell, okay for a period of time. I was dosing a very small amount of calcium and alkalinity for a while, and over time I started to notice that the calcium in the DDR was depleting faster than the alkalinity. I didn't think much of it. I refilled the containers and then did another calibration to the dose and just thought that that would fix it. And I just figured over time that the calibration kind of went wonky and needed to be redone. So I calibrated it, got it fixed, up and running, and we're good. We're back in action. A couple more months go by, it starts doing it again. So at this point, I'm starting to think that there might be something wrong with this dose. And a couple of you guys had asked, and I think it was Reefer Gil that had asked me what I thought of the Neptune Systems dose, because he was looking to put it on his new build. And I kind of took a stab at it, really. And I, at that point in time, wasn't using it at all. I was just doing water changes and I was maintaining proper levels, and I was done with it. I never actually took it apart. I left it on the system. I just wasn't using it. So there was a Fusion update, and I did the update, and all of a sudden I just was under the tank tinkering around and noticed that it was working again. So I'm like, all right, so let's start using it. And again, the calcium was going much faster than the alkalinity. Didn't matter how many times I calibrated it, it wouldn't do what I wanted it to do. Which, in the grand scheme of things, when you own an aquarium controller, if it's not doing what you want it to do, what is it good for then? So October rolls around, and things are kind of starting to slow down. Summer's wrapping up. I'm not out in the bass boat anymore fishing. I'm spending a lot more time at home getting the house ready for winter, because I live in Maine and winters get pretty rough out here. So I do what any coral junkie does. They buy corals. I started buying a lot of coral. I think I did 2 different shipments from Worldwide Corals. I did a bunch of shipments from saltwaterfish.com. Also did an order from Fan at Tidal Gardens. Basically went from having a couple corals in the tank to almost having what I wanted to have for corals and just watch it grow from there. After about a month of the corals being in the tank, I got the Aquatic Life T5 hybrids. I was running T5 lighting with LEDs, and that's when I started noticing things happening. Within probably a couple weeks, massive growth within the tank. A lot of my SPS corals were starting to thicken up, and the coloration was really good. And then I started noticing my maricultured corals starting to not look so good. And what I was noticing was bleaching happening at the bottom of the corals. These aren't corals that I necessarily paid a lot of money for. Well, eventually it started getting worse and worse. So what do you do at that point when things in your tank aren't doing well? You can watch things happen and go south, or you can start testing the parameters of your tank. When doing my testing, I found out that there was a shortage of alkalinity and calcium in the tank because corals were starting to grow. I had added a lot of corals, and then they were growing and getting bigger and thicker and using up the resources that they had for calcification. At that point, doing water changes wasn't enough to keep up with the demand for alkalinity and calcium. So one night, after sitting down, doing some testing, and finding out that my alkalinity and my calcium were low, I figured it was time that I had to get it done. I had to figure out what was going on with the dose, at the very least, get it shipped out to Neptune Systems so I can get a new one under the tank and start dosing this stuff, because I'm at a point where I don't need to do water changes. I need to add stuff to the water so my corals can continue to grow. So I'm under the tank, nothing's happened. I'm ready to rip this thing out, just and throw it. And I'm like, alright, there has to be a reason why this isn't working. So you have 3 plugs that go into the Neptune Systems dose, one being the Aquabus, one being the DDR if you use one, and the last one being the power supply. So I didn't really worry about unplugging the DDR, but I did unplug the power cable. And I unplugged it and I sat there and I watched. Nothing happened, including the lights turning off. The lights did not turn off when I unplugged the dose. So I plugged it back in, nothing seemed to have changed. I hit the feed buttons, nothing's working. I unplug the Aquabus cable. Lights go out. So I'm thinking to myself, that's strange. Why is it when you unplug the Aquabus cable, the lights go out, but when you unplug the power cable, they don't? That didn't make a lot of sense to me. So from there, I start working backwards. So I look at where the Aquabus plugs into the Apex itself, and that seemed to be fine. Then I followed the power cable from the dose to my Energy Bar 8. So I used a plug on my Energy Bar 8 for my Neptune Systems dose. One of the great things about the Energy Bar 8 is that it actually has a light grid on it, and it'll show you which plugs are on and which plugs are off. When I followed the power plug from the dose to the Energy Bar 8, I looked at the little grid and the light was off. So I'm wondering at that point, maybe I have a bad plug. I'm not sure. Let's go to Apex Fusion. So when I'm in Apex Fusion, for whatever reason, and I don't know when I did this, because for a while, especially when I didn't need it, the Neptune Systems dose was working perfectly fine. At some point, I went into Apex Fusion and I turned that plug into a light. Not only did I give it the name light, I also set it up so that it was going to run for a photo period, much like you would have your lights on your tank. Going all the way back to May, I made the choice that I was going to dose calcium during the day and alkalinity at night. And there's a lot of hobbyists out there that do that because they're trying to buffer that pH at nighttime instead of having those low drops. They're trying to keep it a little bit more consistent as would it run during the day. The same thing can be achieved by having a refugium that runs opposite lighting in your sump. So having that plug on a photo period, or at least a timer, the dose would run all day, dumping calcium into the tank, no problem, and then at night it would shut off when it was supposed to be dosing alkalinity. So in case you weren't paying attention, I set up the Neptune Systems dose. I used a plug for the dose in the Energy Bar 8. I set that plug to a timer to only run from 9 a.m. to like 9 p.m. I didn't realize that I was using that plug for anything. I just left it alone. So the Neptune Systems dose would run between 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. and it would be off all night. So it only dosed calcium during the day and then nothing at night. I know. Hashtag lower expectations. I don't know what to tell you. In other words, did something pretty dumb, and it cost me a couple corals in the tank. I am slowly working my way up. I didn't want to go, I didn't tell you, when I tested the alkalinity, when I did the reading on it, I don't know if I said this or not when I talked about it earlier, but I was reading a 6.3 DKH. It's pretty rough. And my tank for probably the first year was running at about 9. So when I started dumping in all the coral in the tank, they started using what was around them and using it fast, and I am now running to catch up. So this is my second week of actually having a Neptune Systems dose in the tank, and I'm trying to recover my alkalinity right now. I just tested my alkalinity about 20 minutes ago, and I've made a small increase. So basically what I was adding was just enough to subside the kind of what the corals were using in the tank. And what I've been dosing in a 24-hour period as far as alkalinity goes is about 30 milliliters, and I've doubled that for the next coming week, which is what the recommended dosage is, at least for the Bionic. So I'll keep you guys up to date on that, and maybe I'll do a video on calcium and alkalinity and the importance of it in a reef tank in an upcoming video. But really, that in a nutshell, that's what I did wrong. with my Neptune Systems dose. And the reason that I wanted to share it with you guys is in hopes that you don't make the same mistake. A very simple fix. I did lose 2 of my maricultured corals that I got from saltwaterfish.com, which is understandable because they pretty much came from the ocean. And then I did lose the pink Bacillopora that I got from Tile Gardens. Hopefully I can get some things straightened out and then get some more corals in the tank and hopefully have a very successful reef tank going forward. So what we're going to do now is we're going to jump into screen capture and announce the winner for the Akamai KPS. Let's do it now.
All right, guys, here we go. The winner of the Akamai KPS. Hit that random pick button. And Nico Nuts, you are the winner of the Akamai KPS.
So congratulations to the winner of the Akamai KPS. That's going to do it for today, guys. I want to thank you for joining me. I hope this video helps you. If you do have a Neptune Systems dose, or if you're just smarter than me, congratulations. But I wanted to get this out there to help people to avoid the same things that I did. That's going to do it for today. I'll see you guys next time right here with a brand new video.